I think Quinn Ewers is one of the more underrated quarterback prospects in this year's draft class. Nobody thinks that he's going to be a day one pick. You have guys like Shedeur Sanders, Cam Ward, and Jackson Dart that are the consensus top 3 quarterbacks in this year's draft class. But then you look at that tier B category, and that's when you have a guy like Quinn Ewers who could be a really underrated day 2 to day 3 pick. Ewers in college was very successful, and this past season was his best statistical year of his entire career. He had nearly 3,500 passing yards with 32 touchdowns and 12 picks, and he led his team on a deep run into the college football playoff. And I know a lot of people viewed last year as a prove-it year for Quinn Ewers. How would his draft stock be affected based off how he played because he decided to come back and play another season of college football? But he pretty much gritted out all of last season playing on a torn oblique. So I did a deep dive overall on Quinn Ewers' film, some from this year, some from last season in the 2023 year. So let's dive right into it. I think Quinn Ewers does a really great job throughout his film when you go through and watch it of making plays with his legs, of Texas when they put him in the play action game, when he's able to go from under center, whip his head around and get the ball out very quick. I think Quinn Ewers does a very good job of that, and Texas utilizes that in a lot of these plays. We'll start here with the 2023 film. I used a lot of this film throughout the film breakdown because Quinn Ewers was so hurt this season with that oblique injury. I wanted to really do a good job of looking at all of the film. So this play comes from the college football playoff last year, Washington versus Texas. We're going to see Texas motion out into a 5 wide here. They're trying to come back from this deficit they were in. And this was one of my favorite Quinn Ewers throws throughout the entire film breakdown. That's why I put it here first. He gets the snap, pretty clean pocket. He steps up, throws it to his guy, who just makes a great play on the ball as well. But how about this back shoulder throw about 50 yards down the field? This is incredible stuff here from Quinn Ewers. Really clean pocket. He steps up, utilizes his big receiver, puts it on his outside shoulder, and that's just a heck of a throw and catch from both guys here. We'll go to the college football playoff from this season between Clemson and Texas. Texas offensively is going to start out with some eye candy here into a play action. We're going to see a deep cross from both receivers. Quinn Ewers does a good job of stepping up in the pocket and floating this right to his receiver before the safety can come over and make a play. Just a really great throw here from Ewers. If we look at it from the end zone angle here, this even gives it more credit. We're going to see Clemson show pressure pre-snap. They do end up bringing it, but the offensive line does a good job of picking it up. Quinn Ewers throws a little pump fake there. He regathers himself, doesn't even have really a chance to fully step into this throw, and he just lofts it to his receiver. I mean, that's a heck of a catch, but Quinn Ewers ultimately finding his guy before that safety could come over and make a play. Clemson had one of the best defenses in the country. That's just a heck of a throw there from Quinn Ewers. All right, this is another great Quinn Ewers throw from this college football playoff game against Washington. Again, Texas is going to motion the running back out into this 5 wide set. We're going to be looking at the bottom here with Adonai Mitchell and the running back. They're going to do this little rub route where they kind of connect with each other but don't fully make contact with the corner, so it is legal, but they do this little rub route. But Quinn Ewers just drops a dime here right into the bucket to Xavier Worthy. Again, one of the things I'll talk about here before I show the bad plays ultimately later into this highlight tape, when you give Quinn Ewers a clean pocket, along with a lot of quarterbacks, but when you give Quinn Ewers in specific a clean pocket, he can make some really nice throws. And I felt this Sugar Bowl against Washington was one of Ewers' best games of his entire career in college. But this end zone angle really does a good job of showing you the types of throws that he can make off platform. He's going to take the snap here. He's originally looking right. He's going to go through his progressions, work his way back left, and he sees his guy finally getting open, but he also notices that he's got some pressure on his backside, so he has to get rid of this football. He doesn't have a chance to step into this throw. He quickly resets his feet, lets this go, and drops the ball into the bucket for Xavier Worthy. All right, play number 4 here. This is from the Red River rivalry between Oklahoma and Texas. This is from 2023, so 2 seasons ago. And you can already tell 4 plays in that Steve Sarkisian loves to use motion and loves to use eye candy to help out ultimately and tip off what the defense is doing. We're going to see the receiver come in motion here, and the Oklahoma defensive backs are going to communicate here, but basically show that they're in man coverage with the way they shift over. And Oklahoma defensively is only going to bring 4 guys, but they get through pretty quick. So Quinn does a good job of getting to his right side, getting outside of the pocket to try and create, and Oklahoma doesn't stick up with Xavier Worthy enough. He runs right through the gap, and Quinn Ewers does a great job of rolling right but throwing left. Kind of a no-no when it comes to the quarterback position, throwing over your body into the middle of the field. But when you're as talented as Quinn Ewers and you have that type of arm talent, you can make throws like that. Just a heck of a throw, leading his receiver. Again, you get dangerous when you have those safeties on both sides of the field, and Quinn Ewers does a good job of leading Xavier Worthy right down the middle of the field, not too far left, not too far right, and hits him in stride for a big play. All right, let's go to play number 5 here, Texas versus Florida. The Longhorns are around midfield. We're going to see this classic Steve Sarkisian motion here. The tight end Gunnar Helm's going to come in motion. Then we're going to have the slot receiver come in motion as well, and they're going to move the pocket here for Quinn Ewers, the little play action game. And we're going to see his first read here is pretty much blanketed up, so he doesn't end up throwing it, does that little pump fake, and he has to kind of regather himself and do a really good job of hitting this out route. And this is a really dangerous throw here from Quinn Ewers. If we go back and watch it, they're going to get him into that play action. He gets to the top of his drop, and he notices that there's a little bit of a log jam between both of his guys up there. That's why he ultimately has to pump fake it and regather himself, which I think he honestly could have hit Isaiah Bond over the middle of the field. Not sure why he didn't hit that, but he comes back to Gunnar Helm, and he has to be on target there, because if he leads him more inside, that ball is 100% getting picked off. And it's a really risky throw there, because when you're throwing towards the sideline, especially when you're late, you have to have the arm talent to get it to your guy in time. And sure enough, he does. I noticed that that's a critique of Quinn Ewers, and I will say his arm strength doesn't blow me away, but when you make a throw like that, that proves that you have a good enough arm to make some of the big time throws. All right, final play that I'll show from this mobility / off platform section. We're going to go to the college football playoff again. It's going to be a 3rd and 17 for Texas. Washington defensively is going to show pressure up front with 6 guys on the line of scrimmage. They're going to show man-to-man across the board. Quinn Ewers gets that pressure, but the offensive line actually does a really good job of blocking it up. He's able to get outside of the pocket because he doesn't like anything downfield, and he's just going to float this perfectly over 2 defenders and hit his running back in stride for a big-time first down. That was a great throw from Quinn Ewers here. We'll look at it from the end zone angle. Offensive line just does a tremendous job blocking this up for Quinn. He doesn't like anything immediately downfield, so he's just going to use his legs, which I think is an underrated aspect of his game. I don't think he gets enough credit for his ability to use his legs, because he had some nice runs littered throughout the tape. And, you know, sometimes for him, there are those tendencies where he becomes a statue in the pocket, but there are other times where he uses his legs and he uses mobility for good, and that's what you ultimately want to see out of Quinn Ewers. Another thing that I really like that Quinn Ewers utilizes in his game is his ability to drop his arm down or make different throws from different arm angles that I think really suits him well, and he does a really good job of it throughout the film. And we'll hop right into it now. Again, in this 2023 game in the Sugar Bowl, Quinn Ewers against the Washington defense that he really did a good job of dissecting in the second half. This ends up being a broken play here. Washington does a good job of getting through pretty quick, but Quinn does a heck of a job of navigating the pocket. He gets out to his left. He's able to flip those hips like Shakira and hit his receiver down the field for a big time throw. But this is a really good job of Quinn noticing that the pocket's breaking down quick, staying alive, navigating through the gaps that he's getting. He gets outside to the left, buys time, makes something happen. This is a heck of a throw. That is so tough for a right-handed quarterback while sprinting full speed to the left to flip his hips and hit his guy also running to the left in stride for a big-time game. That's a nice throw from Quinn Ewers right there. All right, this is again from the 2023 tape. This is the Big 12 championship between Oklahoma State and Texas, and this was a really fun throw that I think Quinn Ewers made here. They're going to motion out into this empty formation again, another thing that Steve Sarkisian loved to do, and it looks like Oklahoma State's going to be playing some zone coverage on the backside. He's going to take this snap initially, only a 3-man pressure, so he's really got all day to try and find his quick throw here that he likes, doesn't find anything to the left. He does a really good job of getting through his progressions. He gets back to the right side, notices that he has a guy streaking free, does a really good job of dropping that arm and hitting his guy for a first down. You really couldn't tell from that angle, but the end zone angle does a great job of showing really how difficult of a throw this is for Quinn. He's going to take the snap, go through his progressions, 1 pump fake, 2 pump fake, slow it down here. He doesn't even have time to reset his feet and just slinky arms this throw to his guy for a first down. Let me replay this for you guys. This is just a tremendous throw here from Quinn Ewers. He takes this snap. He's going through his progressions, does a really good job of getting through them quick, has this gap here, but he doesn't have enough time to fully step up 1-2 with his feet. So he just has to kind of take one step, do a little Mahomey throw across the middle, and that's just a dime right there. All right, we'll head back to the Red River rivalry from 2023 from Texas and Oklahoma. Again, this was a really nice throw that I thought Quinn Ewers made here. Again, Texas is going to go into this play action. They're going to max protect for Quinn. And when Texas is max protecting, they want to hit a deep shot. They want to go to one of their two stud receivers, and either Xavier Worthy or Adonai Mitchell, and both of these guys don't really have a chance here. So Quinn does a good job of finding his outlet over the middle of the field on this little over route. And this was just a heck of a throw. I like the end zone angle even more here because it shows the degree of difficulty and the, first of all, the arm angle, but also the defenders that he really had to just slice this throw right through. So this is just a really impressive throw. All right, he takes the snap, play action, offensive line does a good job. He steps up in the pocket and really just delivers kind of just a sidearm dime right over this linebacker. Let's slow it down here and watch it again. All right, really congested back here in the pocket, but once you can see as Quinn steps up here, he really doesn't have a chance to fully step into this throw the way he'd like to. He really just has to kind of be looking straight, but it's almost a no-looker to a certain degree where he's just flinging this on the side so that linebacker's not following through, because he has to get this over 28, but he can't throw it too high or else number 2's there, but he can't lead him too far on the right side of the field because that corner's also there. So this is just a really tough throw ultimately here from Quinn Ewers that I think kind of goes underneath the radar. Texas is motioning that inline tight end who's now going to become this slot receiver on the outside. As you can see in the past, Oklahoma State, if they were playing man coverage, would bring a guy along that would follow him and that would line up right over him. In this case, we don't see a guy directly following him, so that's not what's happening here. And Quinn knows he's going to have zone coverage on this play. So he's going to take the snap, and Quinn ultimately knows he's going to want Adonai Mitchell on this deep in route on the bottom of your screen. So it's the subtleties here. If you're playing a zone defense, you're going to want to look right to bring this middle safety who's almost shading / bracketing Adonai Mitchell, and by using his eyes, by looking right, it's going to pull that safety over, and he's going to have this deep over wide open, and that's what we're going to see on this play. He's going to take the snap once the tight end gets set. He's going to look right. He knows he doesn't want anything over here. And as you can see, number 9 is hauling over there to not give up a big play. And in response, that's leaving a massive chunk in the middle of the field wide open. Once Adonai beats his guy, Quinn's on time, in the money, ripping it for a big time play. And those are the types of subtleties that you see with this offense. It all starts with the motion. The inline tight ends becomes that slot receiver. You don't have an immediate guy coming over that's lining up over the top of him to indicate that they're playing man coverage. Quinn knows that he wants that backside deep in. He's just going to look right just to pull the safety away. He comes back over, uses those eyeballs, and boom, that's a big time first down from Adonai Mitchell. All right, final play that I'll show from this arm angles montage from Quinn Ewers, and we'll stay in the same game. Oklahoma State's only showing 3 guys up front. They kind of have that QB spy there as well. And ultimately, the defender is going to be guarding that running back here. But if I pause it, you can see Oklahoma State in man-to-man coverage is doing a really good job in this too high look. And I think maybe Quinn's going to have this shot on the top of your screen, but he has to have that Josh Allen arm strength if he's going to hit that honey hole shot, which he just does not. And most quarterbacks don't for that sake. And you're going to see the pocket break down pretty quickly here for Quinn Ewers, so he has to stay alive, stay alive. He gets out to his right, flips it, a little Mahomes action to his running back for a big time first down. That's a nice play from Quinn Ewers. Again, breaking that stereotype that was really criticized against him for just being a statue in the pocket. Whenever it breaks down, his pocket mechanics aren't great. They get there quick, and he's going to face that rush. They get there quick. He flips it out to his running back. And again, I like this play here from Quinn, improvising, just flipping it to his guy once that defender fully commits to him, and that's a big time gain. All right, now let's hop over to some of the bad plays here for Quinn Ewers here. I noticed when watching the film that he really struggled when teams would blitz him, when they would pressure him, bring multiple defenders. Quinn Ewers really struggled, whether you saw it in his footwork or you saw it internally. He would kind of break down and he would panic, and it would lead to a lot of bad decisions, whether that led to interceptions or whether that led to him throwing an inaccurate pass. You saw it very often throughout the film that Quinn Ewers struggled when teams would blitz him and bring pressure at him. So I'll give a few examples here. We'll start out in this Arkansas game. So Arkansas is going to be playing a 3 high look, which is basically 3 safeties deep, and they're going to give up everything up front. They're only going to bring 4 guys, and you're going to see Texas have a wide open drag route right here that Quinn Ewers just does not hit. He tries to step up in the pocket thinking that maybe he can use his legs to get a first down and ultimately does not. And I'll show you from the end zone angle here to show you how clean this pocket was. And ultimately his internal clock just went off, and I think he made a bad decision. All right, he's going to take the snap here, and he's going to feel his edge rusher come off quick. He's just got to dump it down to his tight end right in front of him and make his life really easy. Instead, he tries to step up, takes the sack, and it just was not a good decision overall here from Quinn that didn't result in anything good. All right, next play here, Texas against Florida. Again, we're going to see the Longhorns motion this receiver over onto the wide side. And Texas offensively is going to run a levels concept, which is a 5-yard in from both the number 1 and number 3 receiver and a 10-yard in from the number 2 receiver. And Florida's only going to rush 4 guys here. And I think the offensive line does a pretty good job of holding up. And you're going to see Quinn Ewers have multiple guys that are open. He ultimately doesn't find anything that he likes. That internal clock goes off again, backed up deep in his end zone. And I just don't think he makes a very good decision here, and it doesn't lead to anything. But again, we'll look at it from the other angle. You can see that Quinn Ewers is going to have this initial 5-yard in over the middle of the field wide open, and he's also going to have the top side 5-yard in wide open as well. If he really worked across the field into his progressions, I think he's going to have a chance to hit virtually every single guy on that levels concept side. But that internal clock runs out for Ewers. That pressure really gets to him, and ultimately Texas does not do anything on that play. So the first 2 plays, we didn't actually see either defense heat Quinn Ewers up. They really only brought 4 guys, and it was just kind of Quinn Ewers' internal clock going off that forced him to speed into errant decisions. Now we're going to see Arkansas on this play bring some pressure Quinn Ewers' way, and we're going to see how he handles it here. Offensively for the Longhorns, they're just going to run a slot fade, which is the slot receiver on the bottom of your screen running a fade route. And we're going to see the receiver on the very bottom-most part of your screen run a slant over the middle of the field that is going to be wide open. Ball is snapped, and we're going to see this corner take off, blitzing Quinn Ewers. They're also going to bring a few linebackers as well. And Quinn Ewers feels that pressure. He's going to try and step up, kind of folds, and ultimately takes that sack. But if you go back and watch this play, he's going to have this slant route wide spanking open. And if you're a quarterback, you learn from your coaches that if you are getting blitzed, you are taught to throw into the blitz, because where they are coming from, that spot is going to be wide open. Sure, they had that man-to-man coverage, but you're going to see the middle of the field be wide open once that blitzer goes there. So Quinn has to know what his hot route is on this play, and he's got to just hit him right there. Boom, middle of the field's wide open. This could end up being, with Isaiah Bond's speed, this could end up being a 30, 40-yard play. Instead, Quinn Ewers breaks down, tries to go through his progressions, gets to the right side of the field, nothing's there, and takes the sack. All right, back to this Colorado State game here for play number 3. And again, we're going to see Ewers get heated up. They're not just going to bring 4 guys. No, they are going to send multiple players at him. And I think the offensive line does a really good job of actually handling this blitz. It's a really clean pocket for Quinn Ewers here. And Quinn Ewers is going to have both of his guys wide open on these out-breaking routes. He's going to have Bond wide open on this 5-yard out, and he's also going to have this corner out that is wide open that he's ultimately targeting here. And I just think he's too casual. He feels that pressure, sure, but he's kind of just flinging it towards the sideline. He's way too casual. I don't know if that's his internal clock going off, if he's feeling that pressure just from his peripheral vision. He's seeing extra guys coming, but this is just a really bad throw. I don't even hate the read, but I just feel like he's way too casual. He's just catching the ball, and just throws it out of bounds. You have to hit that throw if you're a pro level quarterback or even a starting collegiate quarterback level, but that is just a really bad incompletion that ultimately I believe the pressure caused. All right, the final play that I'll show here from the pressure side where Quinn Ewers really struggled. Again, this is only a 3-man rush, and he's going to ultimately take a sack on this play. All right, offensively, we're going to see the Longhorns run a mesh concept here, which is a drag route from the tight end at the top of your screen and another drag route kind of rubbing against each other from Isaiah Bond on the bottom of your screen. And it's meant to create some confusion between man-to-man defenders or to try and get guys breaking through different zones if a team is playing a zone defense. And ultimately, this is just an inexcusable sack that Quinn Ewers took. I'll pause the tape right here. If you look, number 11 is wide open at the top of your screen. Number 7, who's running that other drag route behind Gunnar Helm, the tight end, is going to be wide open. And then you're also going to have number 2 breaking wide open over the middle of the field as well if Quinn Ewers just went through his progression and he ultimately takes a sack against a 3-man rush, which is inexcusable. You cannot take a sack against a 3-man rush. And he had all day to throw the ball. He had multiple guys wide open. I'm not sure what he's seeing out there, but that is just simply inexcusable. Now, we've talked about how Quinn Ewers really struggles under pressure when teams heat him up, when teams send blitzes at him, and sometimes it's just his internal clock going off when he's feeling surrounding pressure that he makes bad decisions with the football. But there are also times where these bad decisions turn into really reckless decisions. And that's the next chunk of plays we're going to hop into right now. It's when Quinn Ewers gets really reckless with the football, when that pressure starts to hit home. We'll hop over to this first play here against Florida. The Gators are showing pressure immediately. Quarterbacking 101. Quinn Ewers has to know which one of his receivers are going to be hot, which one of the guys that are running a short route are going to be open that he can get the ball to quickly. The ball is snapped. Florida drops out of this pressure with 2 of the guys, but still kind of simulates some pressure. And Quinn just gets rid of the football as fast as possible. I think this was a pretty clean pocket as well. For a line that had 6 guys on it at first, Quinn fakes the pitch toss to his running back, turns his head around. This is a clean pocket. There's no reason to just fire this football carelessly over the middle of the field, and it should have turned into an interception. But when you rewatch this too, it's like, why not just check the football down to your running back here? If you are that worried that a blitz is coming, that you're about to get sacked, don't just carelessly throw it over the middle of the field when you still have that defender there. I understand he didn't see the defender, but you'd be better off just checking the football down to your swing route with a blocker out in front of him. Just do that. Don't risk the negative play. And that's the thing I'm talking about here with that reckless decision making from Quinn Ewers. Staying in the same game here against Florida, Texas is going to motion over. Looks like they are in man-to-man coverage if you guys have been listening to what I'm talking about with those shifting players. And sure enough, they are. Quinn takes the snap, but just kind of carelessly floats it towards the running back. If you go back and watch this play, I'm not sure why he threw that pass. Maybe it was the internal clock. You can see from the end zone angle that defensive end kind of gets close to him, and so he feels like he needs to get rid of the football. But if you go back and watch this, he's going to have his slant wide open over the middle of the field. I'm not sure what he saw here from this running back route that would give him optimism to throw that football, especially since the safety stuck there and almost made a play on that. You're going to have this slant wide open over the middle of the field. I'm not sure why Quinn didn't take it there, just kind of casually flicks it to the running back that doesn't end in anything. But it's plays like that where you scratch your head. Why doesn't he take the easy check down? Why doesn't he throw it to his hot routes when he's under pressure or when his internal clock runs out? And I think that's what a lot of scouts are seeing out of Quinn Ewers' game. All right, we'll go back to the Sugar Bowl here, Texas versus Washington. You can see the Huskies pre-snap are showing 6 guys on the line of scrimmage. So Quinn Ewers, as the leader and quarterback of the Texas Longhorns, has to know which one of his receivers are hot, which one of his receivers are going to be open on a quick route. If he's getting pressured, he's going to have to get rid of the football quickly. That means he can't wait for a long developing route to get open. If he doesn't have time, he can't wait for a deep post. He can't wait for a 9-ball. He can't wait for a deep corner. He has to get rid of the ball quickly, whether that's a slant, whether that's a quick out. I'll show you guys on this play right here, but he has to know who's hot. Ball is snapped. Washington does end up bringing pressure. Unlike the last play, Quinn Ewers just kind of floats back there, throws it off his back foot, and it ultimately ends in an incompletion. But if you go back and watch this play, I think this was a big time missed opportunity to hit not one, but 2 guys that were wide freaking open. I actually think the offensive line here, as I watched this stunt, I think the offensive line did a pretty good job of giving Quinn Ewers enough time to make a good throw and make a good read, and I just don't think he got the job done. I also think when you watch this play, you're going to have 2 receivers that are wide open. First of all, you're going to have that slot fade that's going to be wide open, and then you're going to have that squirrel route at the top of your screen that's going to be wide open as well. I think if you're looking at your hot routes, you have to hit the squirrel route quickly. Or if you're going to make that throw on the go ball, you have to get rid of it earlier. Quinn just does not do his job here. Everybody else does theirs, and it ultimately ends in an incompletion. All right, final throw here that I'll show from the pressure/reckless throwing category. We'll go back to the Big 12 championship from 2 years ago, Texas against Oklahoma State. The Longhorns are going to be in a empty formation, 5 receivers out in the formation. Quinn Ewers is going to take the snap, gets a little bit of pressure towards the end of it, just kind of tosses it down the field, and that did not look good. That did not look like a great throw at all. Leaves it short for Adonai Mitchell. First of all, if you go back and watch the tape, he's not even open here. Not sure why he just decided to chuck it down the field towards him. He significantly underthrew him, but if you go back and watch who he's going to have open, he's going to have multiple guys that are wide open. But I'm just going to pause the tape right here. Why not just check the football down, throw it right in front of you? You have a clear throwing lane. Adonai Mitchell is blanketed unless you think he's just going to absolutely burn this guy, which he doesn't even end up doing, and you didn't even give him a chance to burn him because you underthrew him so hard, but you just have to check the ball down right here. Or throw it to your running back, which I think is maybe a little more dangerous because I don't know if he has the arm strength to zip it in there. Throw it to your tight end wide open over the middle of the field. I don't understand it. You see that backside pressure affects him a little bit. You just got to get rid of the football there, man. You just got to get rid of the football. All right, the final thing we'll go over here is something I'm not really that worried about. The first two I'm a lot more worried about. Those definitely need to get cleaned up, but this one I don't think is as big of a deal. It's his arm strength. I don't think he has this bazooka of an arm, and we've seen quarterbacks that don't have bazookas be successful in the NFL. Of course, you look at Drew Brees, you look at most recently Joe Burrow, Brock Purdy. I wouldn't say those guys just have absolute cannons on their shoulders, but I think Quinn Ewers sometimes needs to know his game when he's playing with that arm strength, because it sometimes leads to bad decisions or throws that you're like, ooh, that could have been bad. So we'll go to this Arkansas game here. He's going to take the snap. He's going to try and hit this honey hole shot that almost gets picked off. But you have to know your game here. You have to know your game. So let me break down what a hole shot is for you guys right here. So you see this chunk of the field from the 15 to the 25-yard line. Quinn is trying to throw it over the cornerback here, drop it in that bucket, but you're also going to have this safety that is moving over there too. So if you're going to throw a hole shot, this can't just be a lofted throw over that guy into the bucket. No, this has to be a Josh Allen missile that you are throwing in between both of those guys. And this is one of the hardest throws in football to make. You have to have an absolute laser beam on your shoulder. This is not an easy throw at all. So play the tape here. We're going to see Quinn just kind of loft it in there, and that almost gets picked off. That should not have been tipped up into the air. That dude's got to go put 2 mitts on that football and pick it off. But that's what I'm talking about with the arm strength. Joe Burrow can't make that throw. Most quarterbacks in the NFL can't make that throw, but you have to know your game. You have to know your game. You cannot throw that. All right, we'll stay in the same game here. Quinn Ewers does a nice job here with that pump fake of the snap to get Arkansas to show that they are blitzing pre-snap. So Quinn, like we've been talking about throughout the entire film breakdown, you've got to know who's hot. You've got to know who's going to be in man-to-man coverage, who you can get the ball to. That's got to be popping up in your mind immediately. Quinn takes the snap, throws it to his guy who's one-on-one in the corner of the end zone and just kind of underthrows him, and he's not able to come up with the football. And if you go back and watch this play, this is a miss right here. This is a big miss. He's got to take that football, throw it right now, boom, right when he gets to the top of his break. He almost waits a little too long, and it causes his receiver to have to come back to the football. You've got to get rid of the football right away. If you see that man-to-man coverage, you see your guy get outside, man, that should have been a touchdown. Should have been a touchdown. But yes, we are showing a lot from this Arkansas game. I don't know, in terms of the arm strength, maybe he did some 10 sets of bicep curls before the game. That just affected him. That's what I'm hoping it is. Offensively, Texas is going to run a PA crossers here. If you have played Madden at all, you know that this is one of the most fun plays to run, especially in some of those older Maddens. This is a great play, but Texas offensively is going to be running this PA crossers. We're going to see Quinn take the snap here, has a super clean pocket all day to throw it, and just gets casual. Just lofts it up in the air. Cornerback's able to make a play on the football, but this should be a touchdown, ladies and gentlemen. This should be right when he gets to the top of his break. That has to be a missile to the corner of the end zone because his guy's open there, but instead he underthrows it so much and lofts it so much. That is almost an interception. You've got to rocket ship that that to the corner of the end zone, lead your guy to that front pylon and let him go make a play on the football, or just lead him for a touchdown. He should have had that. He actually almost did come down with it. That was a crazy effort play there, but another underthrow there from Quinn Ewers. So this one I'm deciding if I'm being ticky-tacky here. You guys can decide, honestly. I don't think I'm being ticky-tacky, but we'll go back to this Florida game. Little play action here. Quinn's taking a deep shot, and man, this should be a walk-in touchdown. Sure, his guy drops it here, but I think he underthrows him here. I do. It's a little bit of an underthrow, and that should be a walk-in touchdown. I think it hurts him a little bit at times. Now, that is an inexcusable drop. That should be a walk-in touchdown, but he does underthrow him a little bit here. He absolutely does. It causes him to slow down a little bit. He can't just catch it cleanly in stride and walk into the end zone, but I personally think that's a little bit of an underthrow there. All right, final play of the film breakdown here, ladies and gentlemen. We'll go back to the Big 12 championship. Offensively, Texas is going to max protect for Quinn Ewers. That means they are blocking everybody except for two receivers running routes. And Quinn can pick his poison here. He's going to have two guys that are both wide open. Cleanest pocket you could ever imagine. You could sit back there and eat a meal. He throws the deep ball, underthrows his guy, almost intercepted. Not a great throw. If you go back and watch the tape, not only is he going to have that deep route wide open, but he's also going to have this deep over route wide open too, that maybe both of them end up scoring touchdowns. Another miss here from Quinn. I think it's the arm strength that burns him at times. If you're going to throw those deep routes to really fast receivers, you have to get it up early. You have to throw it early if you're going to try and hit him in stride. And that's what you see sometimes littered out throughout his tape that really affects him. Now, a lot of the cons with Quinn Ewers, I don't believe are deal breakers at all. Sometimes you have deal breakers with quarterbacks like Anthony Richardson, who really struggles with inaccuracy and hasn't been able to turn it around so far. But with Quinn Ewers, you don't need a huge arm to succeed in the NFL. You look at the Joe Burrows and the Tua Tagovailoas of the world, even Brock Purdy. All of those guys have gotten big time contracts and have established themselves as franchise pieces on their NFL teams. And I think for Quinn Ewers as well, sometimes combating that pressure that you're dealing with is being within a good system. Quinn Ewers was very successful in this Texas offense with Steve Sarkisian at the helm. And I believe that if he's put into a good position in the NFL, if he's taken as a backup quarterback, say for the Los Angeles Rams with Sean McVay and the weapons that they have there, I think that's a perfect fit for him. I think the Rams are absolutely in the market for a quarterback that they can have develop under Matthew Stafford while he finishes out his career there. What better than a 6'2", 22-year-old quarterback who's very confident, is absolutely a gunslinger, and he really just needs to be molded with his raw potential. I think Quinn Ewers is an absolutely slept-on quarterback in this year's draft class, and I would love to see the Los Angeles Rams take him. I'm Caden Kubler, and thank you guys for watching.